I'm moving him up the list because he's the only person in this room who can technically tattle on me. One of the funniest guys I know, a regular at the punchline, irregular everywhere else. Please make it loud for Arthur Gaus! Hey!
I'm from San Francisco originally. Anybody else? Yeah, I know you are. Here's the deal. I'm from San Francisco. You want to know what the best thing about that is? Unlimited access to use of the word hella. Unlimited access to it. For those of you tourists out of town, you don't know this word. It means it's a local in parlance. In local parlance, hella means absolutely anything you want. Absolutely anything you want. Anything that you want to be described qualitatively or quantitatively can be appropriately described by the word hella. So, for example, you could be like, oh, check out that park. It's got hella puppy friends. Or you could be like, man, Carrie Fisher, whatever. She hella dead, right? So, she's hella dead. Now, so using this word, I have created a new word, and that word is helagon. And has two definitions. Definition number 1. When you or someone else is very, very intoxicated. I.e., dude, you gotta call a cab, man. I'm a pint-tart girl on helagon. Right? Definition number 2. A geometric shape that has hella sides. I had to think about that one, guys. Okay, worst part about living in San Francisco your whole life, other than how expensive it is that I grew up in Haight-Ashbury, which means I cannot make fun of anyone for being soft unless they grew up in Marin County or Berkeley. Like, I have a friend, he went to Berkeley High, he grew up in Berkeley, and he was telling me how the Berkeley schools have a new anti-bullying program to stop the Berkeley bullies in the Berkeley schools from Berkeley bullying other Berkeley kids. And I was like, dude, you had Berkeley bullies in the Berkeley schools? Tell me about the Berkeley bullies in the Berkeley schools. He was like, well, actually, dude, okay, so down at the basketball court, there was this gang of Tibetans, and that's where I had to cut him off! Because I don't mean to be pedantic, but I'm pretty sure the gang of Tibetans is actually called a monastery, right? I'll tell you a little bit more about me. I'm very happy to be in a baseball bar because I like baseball and I do not like football. Primarily because I think Americans like football a little too much. Actually, I know Americans like football a little too much because if you ever watch a nature documentary, any nature documentary, like I watch a lot of Planet Earth documentaries. Now they have 2 versions of the Planet Earth documentaries. They have the British version narrated by noted naturalist David Attenborough. And they've got the American version narrated by noted naturalist Sigourney Weaver. Right? Now, the thing is, the British version and the American version are identical with one key exception. In the British version, they just tell you how big things are. They're like, the fjords of Norway rise over 300 meters above the waves down. In the American version, they tell you how big things are, and then they tell you what that means in terms of how many football fields. It's true, they're invariably like, the fjords of Norway rise over 300 meters above the waves down. What? That's the distance of over 3 football fields. Wow! Down in the tidal pools below, a baby seagull starts in its first breast. At the moment of its first life, it is less than 3 millimeters from nose to tip. What? That's less than 1/10 of 1/100th of 1% of 1 football field. Wow! We like football so much in America that we think anybody on TV talking in a suit is smart. Even if they are talking about football. And those people are so stupid that they can't even remember what sport they're talking about without constantly reminding themselves and everyone else at home that they are, in fact, talking about football. It's always like, if you want to win football games in the National Football League, you got to be able to run the football, you got to be able to throw the football, and if you throw that football, you got to have someone there to catch that football. In the National Football League, that means getting both hands on the football and both feet down on the football field and make the stink football move up the football field. So what do I expect to see out there on that football field today? I expect to see two outstanding football players making outstanding football teams making outstanding football plays in this football game. And after all of that, they have the audacity to ask me if I am ready for some football. I think we like football a little too much. I do not think we like pro wrestling enough. I don't think, yeah, some beatnik over here is like that. We don't like wrestling enough. I like wrestling. I do not like other people that like wrestling, right? Because people who like wrestling always have some kind of quasi-scientific reason as to why pro wrestling is real, right? It's always like, dude, you understand, man, my uncle, he works backstage at WrestleFest 05. He told me during the WrestleFest afterwards, like all the guys, they came back from the ring and they were all totally bruised and they were all totally bloody and it was all totally real. Well, fine, dude, but I've got an uncle, and he's totally a medical doctor, and he totally told me that when a grown man gets hit in the junk by a crowbar that has been wrapped in barbed wire, he doesn't usually get back up. Like, or for that matter, go. I'll leave you with this. Though I do not like pro wrestling fans, my favorite internet video of all time does involve a pro wrestling fan. I'm going to describe it to you right now. We got a picture of the scene. It's a big screen TV on the wall over there. And in front of that big screen TV is a big fat guy with a big bushy beard, and he's watching wrestling, right? And he's getting mad, right? He's standing there going, oh, heck! Oh, heck! Oh, heck! Because his wrestler is losing, right? And then finally, his wrestler gets thrown from the ring, and he goes, oh, heck! Right? He picks up a chair, and he smashes the TV, right? And he yells something to the camera, and then the camera follows him upstairs into a room filled with professional wrestling junk, right? And he tears up a bunch of magazines, and he rips off some posters, and he stomps on some action figures, and yells something to the camera, and then the camera follows him out the door and down the hallway to a second room filled with professional wrestling junk. And he rips up a bunch more magazines, he tears down a bunch more posters, and I'm sitting there in San Francisco watching this going, wow! This imbecile has 2 spare bedrooms. Thank you. I'm Arthur Gaus, guys. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Arthur Gaus, everybody. Let me tell you something. I've known him my whole life, and for his entire comedy career. That wrestling joke has been in the works since day one. So if you got a bit that you are running out of hope on, stick with that shit. All right.